Alright, I guess we're doing it. We're redesigning the Pontiac Aztek. This will be my most ambitious project yet. But before we jump into the redesign video itself, I want to show you why I think people consider this to be the ugliest car in the world. There are a few details in this design that makes it straight up ugly. And as a designer, they stick out pretty strongly to me. So let me show you why. Here, first of all, let's start with this front. It looks like there is one car front right here, and this could be a nice front all by itself. But then there is a second car front up there. It's kind of like, it kind of reminds me of the Fiat Multipla, that they just added another layer like a cake. They stacked two fronts up on top of each other. That could work, but in this case, not only do they have two fronts in the front, they also don't have, the biggest issue with this car is the line continuity. I'm gonna show you now exactly what I mean. So let's start with this headlight right here. Looks very cool, very Chrysler Pacifica looking. So here we have one line, and it goes to nowhere basically. There is nothing continuing this line here. And then we have this top line, so let's follow that and see where that goes. Same thing there, it goes to nothing. There is no graphic element here that is in line with this top line of the headlight. And then let's follow this line up here and see where this goes. And this goes to the center of the headlight. So if we follow this line, we would just get a line that goes like that. It doesn't, it doesn't connect to anything. And this is a problem all over this car. You have this line down here. From the grill, it should probably have something here, just something. It can just be an edge or a crease or whatever you want. And also I think the grill itself is just sitting too low. I want this so bad to be in line with this line from the headlight right there, but it just sits too low. And these two intakes, I know that's a Pontiac trademark, but in this case, you have all these sharp edges here, these sharp corners and edges, and then you have this weird blob of a headlight or a turn signal or whatever that is up there. And another thing I want to point out is this shoulder line here. So let's follow this line right here. Let's make it straight, bam, like that. And then you see at the rear that this just messes up the proportions of the car. When you look at it in side view, is this area right here that just hangs below the shoulder line that everything else is connected to. So you have the side windows, they end right here. And of course, if you drag this line out, you want this rear window to stop at the same point. But for some reason, they just decided to lower it a bit more for some weird reason. Oh, and if you hear some kittens in the background, we have some foster kittens, so that might be in the recording. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but just so you know. So let's continue with these fenders here. We have a sweeping curve going right here, and here we have almost a 90-degree angle going down like that. That's also one of these just random stuff that they just decided to put on this car. You don't see these lines anywhere else on the car. They just pop up in random places. So this, to me, in general, the reason why I think people think this is an ugly car, I mean, it is an ugly car. It's just undeniably ugly. But the reason I think people think that is because it's like it's a mashup of 5 or 6 different cars. It's a classic, but for the wrong reasons. So now let's go into the actual redesign video and see if we can do something about this.
Maybe your best course would be to tread lightly.
Walter, I promise I'm gonna do my best to make this a car that you will be proud of. All right, so let's get started. First of all, we want to cover the big areas of this car and the big issues. And with this Pontiac Aztek, there are a few big issues to work on right here. So I'm starting with an airbrush and just filling out the front. I think the front is the main part that everybody's attention goes to when they see this car. So as I was talking about in the intro, the main problem here is actually the line continuity and how the line connects with each other. I want this redesign to be like a version of a car that could have been produced by the time at the, in the same era as this car. So I'm not going to add any LEDs. I'm not going to add anything that looks out of place from this time period. But at the same time, I want to make it, let's say, less ugly. I guess it's a good way of putting it, because I don't think we're going to be able to make this a pretty car. That does not seem reasonable to me. So I just want to clean everything up and have some line continuity going on. As you can see here, I'm changing the fenders, I'm changing the front part. I actually had a few versions of the front before I decided on the one that I'm gonna go with right here. Some looked a little bit too much like a Lexus, another version looked too much like a Cherokee. So I wanted to keep the weirdness of the car, but graphically I wanted to work with the lines and have them connect better with each other. In the intro, I was talking about this rear window and how it hangs lower than the rest of the side windows. And to me, when you look at it from the side view and you have that dip in the last part of the window, that makes it look like it's a very rear heavy car. So I changed that to have it be a continuous line. And also the C-pillar is one of those graphical elements that I don't like, so I removed that and have the C-pillar be the same color as the B-pillar in this car. And that just gives the side view a more appealing look. So right here I'm just working on the front and trying to get the graphics right by using some black hard brush to fill out the bottom part of this car. And I'm also working on the headlights to make them look right, and also have the light bulbs and the stuff that are inside of the headlight. I want to make those fit inside of these new shapes, so I have to redesign them a little bit. One interesting thing to note is that the chief designer of this car, Tom Peters, said that this car was designed to be aggressive for the sake of being aggressive, and I kind of like that. Just that's pretty much what I like to do. I like to do just add aggressive things to cars, aggressive styling, just because it looks cool, and I can appreciate that. He also later went on to design the Corvette C7 Stingray. If you compare the Pontiac Aztek with the Corvette C7, those are two very different vehicles. It's kind of interesting to know that they were designed by the same person. Now, if you ask me about these type of cars, this, for example, the Aztek and the Fiat Multipla, I would definitely drive all of them, because I like these cars that stick out for weird reasons. Maybe some would call it the wrong reasons, but to me it just shows that the designers, they wanted to try something new. And this car, this Aztek, by the way, was one of the first cars to be designed using just computerized tools. So you might think that maybe they went a little bit overboard with the computers and had too much fun creating this car, and that they were so amazed by the opportunities that you could do with computers, so they just went all over and created 5 cars into one design. Who knows? To me, this is just still a cool car that I would definitely drive as a daily. Right now, I'm just filling out the details of this car. There are still a few major issues with this design that I came back to later on when I went and had a coffee. You know, that creative break that you need to have sometimes, and then you come back and look at it and you see some weird stuff going on that you didn't see before. One of those things is this grille, so I'm gonna go in and change that because I think it sits too low. I just want to bring it up just a little bit in height with the headlights. But first of all, need to add some details to this front spoiler or front intake or whatever aggressive thing you want this to be. Since the chief designer himself said that it's an aggressive design for the sake of being aggressive, so I can do whatever aggressive stuff I want on this car and it will be okay with the chief designer. So here we are, I'm working on the grille now, trying to bring it up and redesign it. Keep the same shape, keep this BMW kidney Pontiac grille, and just lower it or make it not as high as it was, and also of course filling in the details for that. I also wanted to add the center line going down from the Pontiac logo because it's almost like an arrow, so I wanted to continue that line to go down and have a little bit of a crease going down there. And this is just working on the details on the rear window, so it's because these are windows, obviously you see through them, so I wanted to visualize the rear window through the side windows right there. This right here, one of my favorite steps. As you know, if you've seen these videos before, just add some overlay layers to this design and then have the contrast build up through these layers. So I'm using overlay layers with airbrush, and also of course we need to change the wheels. I decided to go with some, I think these are Jeep Cherokee wheels, Grand Cherokee wheels. I think they suit this car and it suit this era. They're not too complex, and I did not like the yellow color, so I decided to go with a neutral gray so that the color itself is not taking away too much from the actual design of this car. It's already weird enough, so let's not make it yellow, let's make it gray. And this right here is the before and after. I hope you enjoyed this video just as much as I enjoyed making it. This was a difficult one because I didn't know if I wanted to modernize it or make it a version of what it could have been. I went with the latter, obviously. I hope to see you in the next one. I'm the Sketch Monkey, and take it easy, guys. I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you so much for watching.